Good afternoon, everyone. We have come a long way from bartering camels and livestock, haven't we? Or have we? Today we are going to discuss such an interesting topic concerning economics. Although I have taken a difficult topic, but I have tried my best to delve as deep. But for you, I'll make it as simple as possible. So I was talking about the barter system. So initially, when there was no currency, no token coins, so that was the exchange or the purchases or whatever was desired. For example, if I take this artificial plant and I want a live rose or a live jasmine plant in return for it, so the other person might consider my offer, or he might decline it, or he might say that this is worth only a live petal of rose. So this was based on desirability. Then slowly came the precious metals. We progressed from the Stone Age to the Bronze Age, and then we all laid our hands, tried to lay our hands on the precious metals like silver and gold. These days, people have moved on to platinum, but gold and silver became the main objects of exchange. But since even after, because they were precious metals, and you might, if you have gone through the medieval history, during the reign of one of the famous rulers, that is Muhammad bin Tughlaq, there was a severe shortage of silver coins, which he had proclaimed as the currency. So he had to switch to the token coins. That is, token, if I say in simple terms, so token is something whose intrinsic value is less than its face value. So what I mean by that is, we have a term known as token. So token and face value. So I'll just loosen my purse a bit, and I'll take a lower currency note. So if we consider this paper money, so actually this face value of this is that backed by the legal tender, that is backed by RBI or the government of India. It is worth 10 rupees, but the actual intrinsic value of this paper on which the money has been printed, it is obviously very less than 10 rupees. Are you getting the point? So the actual cost of printing that money will be way less than 10 rupees, but actual, if you say it is written that we have to pay the barrier, I promise to pay the barrier, the sum of 10 rupees. So if I decide to purchase a rose which is worth 10 rupees, so I will get it. If the same, it is treated as a paper, if this face value is not 10, if I give the same piece of paper, if I give a counterfeited note, then it doesn't have any value. I won't get even that one rose. So that is what we mean by the tokenization or face value. Okay. So we progressed from the barter system to the trading of precious metals, then we have token, and now we are slowly progressing to more avenues. Even when we consider the digital currencies, the digital payment methods, we have, we often discuss about, Paytm, PhonePe, UPI, lot of ads, Amir Khan and Alia Bhatt all doing those ads. But the thing is, still that is the asset. We can, when we go to a bank, even if we have an account, if we asked the cashier to for borrowing or taking out some money from our account, so we get that in the paper or tangible form. The word is tangible here. So in spite of the fact that UPI has provided a platform, or BHIM has provided a platform for the exchange of currency, the same 10 rupees or the same 100 or 1000 rupees is various platforms like Paytm or PhonePe are providing a method which is using the common platform known as UPI, developed by the Unified Payments Corporation of India. But still, it is not exactly a digital currency. It still has its value. It is a tangible asset. But now we come to the main topic of today's discussion, that is cryptocurrency. So cryptocurrency, you might have all heard about Bitcoin and maybe Ethereum or Dogecoin, which is based on Shiba Inu. If you have, lot of memes are made on that dog. So if we distinguish in layman terms with the normal currency, the fiat currency or the tangible currency. So this 10 rupee coin is actually tangible, we can feel it. And although we say that we give the terms like Bitcoin or Dogecoin or Ethereum, but these are just for representational purposes. The Bitcoin is not a tangible asset, it is a virtual currency, it is a digital asset. It is just for representation purposes that we use in the images as a coin. A Bitcoin as such does not exist in physical form. So that might come to you as a surprise, because normally when we use the term coin, we like to play with it. So basically that is not the case. Let's finally start. So today basically the topic is economy based, but there's a lot of science and tech involved, and obviously some mapping I have involved, and history I have already covered a bit, and polity. So all this is connected. Bitcoin, the currency, is not just about economic or paper 3 in particular. It has wide reaching applications. So the blockchain technology, the what, the how, and the why. So here I just, for making things interesting, again some icons, some infographics. So basically these blocks, if you have played this new generation, I don't know whether they play with the Lego blocks or I don't know, we used to play, and Legos are actually very costly these days. So anyways, so first we need to understand what the technology is. It's a very interesting concept. There's nothing to be afraid of. I'll explain to you it in very simplistic terms. So basically, like the name indicates, blockchain is a chain of blocks that contains information. It's like a distributed ledger, or which we say khata in Hindi. So it's a digital ledger in a computerized form of database. So if we consider this block has some information, this blue one, this red block has some information, and this green block, and these 3 blocks are connected with each other. I'll get into details. First, some history. So basically it was described in 1991 by a group of researchers, and originally intended to timestamp the digital documents so that it's not possible to tamper with them or counterfeit them or make any sort of illegal claims over them. So this blockchain, this term was similar to be, the concept was similar to that of a notary. If you have gone to any government office or DM's office, there are a lot of people sitting on benches outside that office. So basically the notary is a person authorized to perform acts in the legal value, in the legal aspect. So sometimes some regularization or some witnesses are required in the public domain. So that notary, that person, that public official is authorized to give the signatures. This is just a relation or analogy between notary and the blockchain. So the concept was given in 1991. But finally, this person here, Satoshi Nakamoto, he was the pioneer. He was the pioneer of the actual blockchain, the cryptocurrency, digital cryptocurrency Bitcoin, which was developed by him in 2009. So this person, this nice person with a halo around him. So anyways, so a blockchain is a distributed ledger that is completely open to anyone. In the upcoming slides, we'll also discuss in details what are the benefits, because that's important, what are the disadvantages. So basically it's a open ledger, khata jise bolte hain, and there what we have is, like in a ledger we have the basically importantly 2 columns. If I decide to purchase something from Amazon, so in my ledger I'll have 2 columns where my account will be mentioned, and what the credit and debit amounts are, they will be written down, and similarly for the Amazon place. So this ledger is the common, which in normal currency exchange happens, but in this blockchain that same copy of ledger is distributed across all the candidates or the participants with the Bitcoin address. Okay, so just we'll take a simple example. So I have taken this blue box which contains data. So the information will be similar to what we have in a physical tangible ledger, or normal when we buy something from Amazon, shop something, or we pay something in the via the digital platform. So we have the information of the sender in the form of address, not the actual details, that is anonymous, but we have the some type of coding or some type of tagging is given, hashtag is given in the form of alphanumeric value. So we have the sender, then the data of the receiver and the amount exchange. So this is the basic one component. Then we have the hash of the block. So hash is actually a connector, sort of connector. For those of you who have a background in computer science, they can relate to this. There was a term known as, a concept known as arrays and pointers. So this acts in that respect. So that is unique. It is like the fingerprint. It is like the fingerprint of this data, of this whole block. So it is unique. Some I have just random number I have put. You can see it's an alphanumeric number. Then this another property is hash of previous block, which is important, without which the link with the in the blockchain cannot be performed. So again, this fingerprint, since it links to the previous hash, it identifies the fingerprint of the previous blockchain. So this is also unique. I'll just explain more in the next slide. So this is the three important components of a particular block in a blockchain. So hashes are useful when you want to detect changes to the blocks. Now it is often quoted or emphasized that blockchain is a pretty secure technology as compared when we compare it to traditional currencies. Not 100% foolproof, because we have become computer experts, everyone is computer experts, and with a little, the hackers already, they just have to get a little bit of knowledge, and loopholes are always there. But the stats show that only 0.34% of all the cryptocurrency exchange are those which come under prone to criminal activities, whereas a staggering 5% of all the transactions which are done in terms of traditional currencies, they are prone or vulnerable to money laundering and various such illegal activities, terror financing and all that, which countries like Pakistan use. Anyways, so in case of blockchain, we have this 3 blocks. I picked them up and placed here from the first initial slide. So this is, we call the Genesis block. First block in a blockchain has been created. So you can see that it has a hash, unique hash. To simplify, I have just used a 4-letter alphanumeric value. Then because it is a first block and it is not linked to any other block, so previous hash is 0 or nil. So the data I have not mentioned, just for simplifying things. The important part is how it is secure and how it ensures the linkages between the blocks. So this has an hash. Then once this is placed, then a user on the virtual platform, he may, with a particular Bitcoin or blockchain address, he or she might be interested in creating another data or making some transaction. So for that particular person, another block will be created, the data will be put. More importantly, it will be given a unique fingerprint, and the third important component, it will be linked to the fingerprint of the previous block. So that way the authenticity of that block and that linkages will be established. Similarly, another person wants to create another block, make some transaction, validate some transaction, make some purchases. So another block with his or her data, the amount, the person to which he is sending, so all that data will be placed in one domain. Then we have the new unique fingerprint of this block, and the previous hash will also be contained in this block, which will signify or secure this block in the connection and link it. So this is how the linkages happen. So I hope it is clear to you in very simple terms. Now the blockchain security, how we can say that the blockchain is secure. So what we have already explained, I've already explained to you the mechanism of how the blockchain works. So again, I'll take the same example. So for example, I am Sergio from Money Heist, and I decide to tamper with this second block and make some payments, illicit payments in my name. So what will happen is, as soon as I make any subtle change in this block, the hash of this block will change, because whenever I put any new data, it has to give a unique, that hash value, unique fingerprint. So whenever I try to you know counterfeit it or modify it, it will recognize it and give it a new. But now since it is already in the chain and the next block is already connected to it, so this will raise some concern. This will raise a prompt or alarm that something is fishy and this is not right. So this system, because that same ledger, that same khata is distributed across all the users. This blockchain, it's a simplified example, but this copy will be across thousands or lakhs of computers or systems used by the users or the those who have a Bitcoin interest and use the same blockchain. And so this will be the transaction or whatever Sergio is trying to do with it, it will not be allowed. So this is one of the security purposes. Okay. But again, the loophole is that because again, if sufficient resources or sufficient time is there with Sergio, because time is of very great importance. So that way, by some method, we don't need to go into that, he can tamper with it. But here comes the security, the second way in which the security of a blockchain is maintained. And because computers these days are very fast and calculate hundreds of thousands of hashes, so Sergio can still mingle if the blockchain had only one tier of security. So now what about the security part 2? So here we have a very important concept known as the proof of work. So like I said, whenever a block is changed or a new block is created, that transaction or that creation or that formation of new amount of data is validated by the entire blockchain, and that takes around 10 minutes. And 10 minutes might seem a lot of amount, but that 10 minutes and it is spread across billions of computers on that same ledger, the same ledger distributed. So that 10 minutes it multiplies to a lot of time, and within that time I don't Sergio won't have that kind of patience, and with the embedded measures, security measures, he won't be allowed due to this proof of work mechanism to interfere or counterfeit the block. So this is another important thing, proof of work. So a form of cryptographic proof in which one party proves to others that a certain amount of computational work has been done. So authenticity is the effort, the lots of powerful computers, a lot of electricity is involved, and lot of algorithmic puzzles are needed to be solved to create a block or validate that transaction. So it is not easy to modify or interfere with within the blockchain. And in Bitcoin's case, like I said, it takes about 10 minutes to calculate the required proof of work. This is important term, and add a new block to the chain. This mechanism makes it very hard to tamper with the block, because tamper with one block you will need to recalculate the proof of work for all the following blocks. So say already the chain exists, so once you tamper with this block, this proof of work will have to be ascertained, so it will be distributed across the entire blockchain. Then all the following blocks, because we said that this block is linked to this by the hash, so if this is changed, then this also has to be authenticated, because the hash, the third portion that is linked to the hash of this, the fingerprint of this second block, it will not match. So these are the two security. Now we have the third measure also. This is the third aspect of security, which is the major aspect. So what I was continuously talking about, the khata or the ledger. So here in simple terms, we have the original blockchain, then a new block is added, and for the verification, not only the proof of work, the hash is also verified, and also if these are different, this person, this uncle or this youth or this hip person is connected, spread across all the network. These are just 3, but there are lakhs of people spread across this ledger. So this same copy of ledger, all that data, this ledger will be going to his system also to get verified. This ledger will go to his system to get verified. This ledger will go to his system to get verified. So this is the most important aspect, or the third phase of the security. And this, unless and until all the ledgers have the same value, the same hashes, the same amount of data, this new block will not be allowed to get added. Once all the ledgers have that green go, the go signal that everything is alright, proof of work is there, the hash matching is there, only then will this block be added, and that block again will be added to ledger of each of these individuals. So I hope that is clear till now. Now we have understood the blockchain. So how is a blockchain different from cryptocurrency? Basically, blockchain is just a mechanism. An analogy to that is we have the UPI, a common interface. So blockchain is just a distributed ledger. Cryptocurrency is a virtual or digital currency. Now that is analogous to the traditional currency, the note or the coin, which I gave an example of. So it is actually not tangible. We use the word intangible. It cannot be touched or felt. It does not have a physical appearance, although we have given it a graphical or pictorial representation. So basically it is a digital virtual currency secured by cryptography based on a distributed and decentralized network. This distributed and decentralized network is the blockchain, whose concept which we have discussed comprehensively. So now what are the basic features? First of all, control. The decentralized structure. This is the main feature of cryptocurrency, which is based on the blockchain, because it is by the people or for the people. In simple terms, because no central authority, or it is not government backed, no, there is no Federal Reserve behind it. Generally, I am talking in general terms. So that is the concept. So the rules and regulations or that red tape, so that is the main feature of that. There is no control. It is it is again up to the desirability, the value of that particular asset, the value which we talked about, that plant or that rose or jasmine plant. This works according to the people. Then some opinions, some experts believe, and we'll discuss in detail about that also, that it may affect the financial and law aspects, the financial security, and it may cause law and order problems, which we have started to observe, because it's been some time that the cryptocurrency has been in the news in transaction and use, and now loopholes have begun to prop up. So recently, if I give you an example, in November in last year, the Bitcoin is a type of cryptocurrency which is based on blockchain. So I'm repeating this again to emphasize the concept. So one Bitcoin, it had a value till last November, it had a value of somewhere about $68,000. Then it fell in March 2022 around to $46,000. And recently, if you have been following the news, the latest update is that around 1 or 2 months back, it fell 75% to $22,000. So that is due to various factors. Now, although another concept is that a cryptocurrency or Bitcoin is supposed to not get influenced by the external market factors like inflation or the rate hikes by the Federal Reserve, but that is now, everything is connected some way or the other. So that has some sort of influence on Bitcoin also. Anyways, so utility. So what happens when there is decentralization or lack of regulation? There is less of check, because already the system is very secure, and the protocols, it has been developed in such a way that the counterfeiting or modification is not very feasible. So the criminal activities are already reduced, and it's a computer based database based on database, and it is algorithmic in nature. So and powerful computers perform that validation or transactions, and so the transfer of assets, they take place within a fraction of a second. So that is one of the major advantage. The drawback, on the other hand, which has become a real worrying point, especially with all the climate change and all the climate activists making a lot of noise, and it is supposed to be climate has to be now, action has to be taken, because some such powerful computers are involved. There is a lot of electricity, and by some stats in 2018, the amount of electricity or the energy required to mine the bitcoins was equivalent to the energy consumption of even some small countries like Switzerland. So this I'm talking about 2018. Now the more computers, more players are entering this arena, so it is even. So obviously electricity, now you can relate to environment also. Basically we are reliant on fossil fuels, so more electricity, more the burning of fossil fuels, and again more greenhouse gases, and you can relate all that. So basically this, and again price volatility, although Bitcoin, although decentralized, not influence, it is not supposed to be influenced by the demand and supply forces of the market. But again, investor sentiment, the news and media, then talks in the government sector. Now, like in India, there is the current status of cryptocurrency is that it is not illegal, but there are plans to regulate it. So there has been talk of CBDC, the centralized banking digital currency, central bank digital currency. So that aspect, that investor sentiment also similar to stock market, that influence makes the Bitcoin or any cryptocurrency highly volatile. And of course some criminal activities, whenever there is money, criminals will be involved, some kind of illicit activities will be involved. So the types of cryptocurrency, some cryptocurrencies have ventured into the physical world, but the major concept is that they are intangible, or they cannot be, they are plainly or simply virtual. So we know the Bitcoin, this is the de facto standard for cryptocurrency. Then recently in news, we are going to discuss at the end this important currency. This is the Ethereum. It is the second most popular currency after Bitcoin. So Ethereum is another type of cryptocurrency, and it enables the smart contracts and decentralized application, and also decentralized financing, DEFI, if you have heard of, that has become very popular these days, and without any downtime fraud. So this is slowly becoming more mainstream. Then we have the Cardano. This is again an Ouroboros proof of stake cryptocurrency, and again this is some fact research based approach. So this is not you don't have to concentrate on these terms. This is algorithmic based, different node based, or function, different type of structures or the functions which flow around. They have different backing or technologies on which these different are based, different cryptocurrencies are based. And finally the interesting one, this Shiba Inu, this is the Dogecoin. So actually the interesting part is this Dogecoin is started as a type of meme. All these cryptocurrency going around, so people started, because this dog, already lot of memes are made. This is kind of funny kind of characteristics which it displays. So it started as a meme, and that meme, people kind of started investing in this kind of coin, and finally it came into existence, this Dogecoin. So again there is a difference between the tokens and the cryptocurrency. This is a cryptocurrency, and this, for example, if we take Bitcoin, it is a separate cryptocurrency which is based on its blockchain, its separate blockchain. But if another type of currency uses the same type of mechanism as used by the Bitcoin, it will not be called a currency in terminology. It will be called as a token currency. So these are just small terms. So now we ultimately, what the important question comes is, what determines the value of Bitcoin? We have talked about the stock markets. For example, when we talk about a company, when a company issues its shares, the IPOs you have heard, or transacts in the stock market, so it is influenced by a major many factors: demand and supply, interest rate hikes, the FDIs, FIIs, the outflows, inflows, the investment, and interest rate hikes, how that economy is doing, the depreciation, appreciation, the local market. So a lot of factors are involved. So similarly, when we buying stock, it grants a type of shareholding or a type of ownership in that country. When we buy Bitcoin, we get ownership not of particular company or any stock, but that amount of cryptocurrency bought by money. So if we decide to exchange, say, if one Bitcoin is today worth $10, so we can easily, through the ways of many exchanges. For example, in India, if I take, there is a Bitcoin exchange known as Wazir X. In US there is a exchange or cryptocurrency lending organization which is known as Celsius. So all these help in exchanging. If anyone wants to save, it's their like we have FDs or mutual funds or saving stock market. So similarly, we can deposit our money and invest in bitcoins also. And the major advantage is that not only it is decentralized, not only is it fast, but it also grants returns up to the rate of 16 to 17%. But again, because it is so vulnerable, so prone to a lot of fluctuations, that savings are that rate may also fluctuate. And especially the main drawback is, since it is not backed by this, it is not a legal tender or not fiat currency, generally not backed by any bank, any central bank or any government. So if one is to lose money, we cannot approach some banking ombudsman, or the government cannot guarantee the return of that money. So we are in for a major loss, as it had happened recently. You might have heard about cryptocurrency known as Luna. So Luna crashed majorly in a drastic way, and there was loss caused to the investors in that currency to the tune of $40 billion. So that was this was a really ground shaking loss, or the drop in the status of that cryptocurrency. So these are few important drawbacks which we will study. So basically, the important, what makes the Bitcoin valuable. So one is supply. This is not the demand and supply of the market. Basically, in case of Bitcoins, only there is a limit, there is a cap. 21 million Bitcoins are to be produced in its entirety. That is till 2140. That is the year 2140, after which the Bitcoin process, after reaching this cap, there will be no more Bitcoins will be processed. So supply is gradually diminishing. Then demand is getting high. Demand, why? Not the market general demand, the investor sentiment. More and more people are getting interested, especially the youth. So they are willing to invest their money in the Bitcoin. So the demand and supply, in that way they influence the cryptocurrency. And even if this is capped, even if Bitcoin Bitcoin is fully consumed or invested in, there are more every other day, every other month there are more and more different types of cryptocurrencies which are cropping up in the market. Like we have discussed Ethereum, we have Cardano, we have Solano also. So many, we have Tether, some banking, the central bank backed currencies are also there, like the US Tether. So all these are there. So this is the demand and supply part. Then production cost, like in setting up of any company, we have the cost of land, labor, working capital. So in production cost also, there are the infrastructure and especially electricity. So that cost are the fixed cost, and the indirect cost of this is the algorithmic or the puzzle solving. What happens is, the concept basically behind the Bitcoin is, if one wants to earn some Bitcoins, so there is an algorithm or puzzle which is provided to the users, to all the users who want to solve it, and the one who solves it first, that is rewarded with some Bitcoins. So that is known as Bitcoin mining. That can be in the form of validation of transactions also, that can be in the form of solving some algorithmic puzzles also, which you don't need to go into detail. So that difficulty level, that varies, and that adds to the production cost. Okay, and there is an interesting fact, the rate at which Bitcoin is created is reduced about every 4 years. This is called halving. So that reward, not only the Bitcoin production, that reward, for example, if mining one if we solve one puzzle, so 32 Bitcoins are being rewarded to that person. So by and time, it might happen that after 4 years, that mining the same puzzle, the difficulty might change, increase or decrease, but the reward will become half, that is 16 Bitcoins will be rewarded. So that is some of the concepts. Then we have the competition. Now in 2017, Bitcoin accounted for more than 80% of overall market capitalization. In 2022, it has reduced to 50%. We have other currencies cropping up also. Now regulations, how regulations affect the value of Bitcoin, we have already discussed that regulations in the form of government. Now what happened in the US, I told you an example about the cryptocurrency Luna and is associated currency Terra. So when the loss or when that cryptocurrency market crashed, so there was a massive loss. But since there was no safeguard, there is no legal backing, so the money cannot be returned to the customers or the investors. So owing to that, seeing that massive loss, so that Securities and Exchange Commission is deciding to again regulate this exchange of cryptocurrency. So again, when regulations come into picture, that will also influence the investor sentiment, and that will again add to the volatility of the Bitcoin. If the regulations are in favor of the investors, then the prices may increase, or other way around also. Then finally, media news. This is very important because if some celebrity posts some recently there was an example that Microsoft, Tesla, and even Burger King, they had posted on their sites that they will accept the transactions at Bitcoin, but later they declined. Or that Tesla, that Elon Musk, he keeps on proclaiming one thing or the other. So it was also in the news that Tesla had decided to acquire $1.5 billion worth of Bitcoins, but later he declined. So this simple news, like there is investor sentiment that influences the stock market, the simple news by these celebrities or these high profile, high net worth individuals, this can cause a lot of fluctuations in the Bitcoin value. So these are some of the important things. Okay, moving on. So in brief, I have already talked to you about the Bitcoin mining, that is verification of new transactions against the Bitcoin, which results in the production of new Bitcoins. Or another way is to solve the complex algorithmic puzzles by which that person or that particular miner, that is just a metaphorical term, so we are literally mining the Bitcoins in the form of gold or fossil fuels like coal. So that is how the Bitcoins can be earned and new Bitcoins are getting produced. But you have to remember that there is a cap of 21 million Bitcoins, which is supposedly to be achieved by 2140. So this is the ledger which we have been talking about, the basis of a blockchain. So again, to repeat, Bitcoin is the currency, Ethereum is the currency, Dogecoin is a currency, but they are based on a mechanism similar to blockchain. The blockchain mechanism, the ledger mechanism, the linking, the hashtags, the blockchains might be different. For example, Bitcoin might use its different separate blockchain, Ethereum might use its separate blockchain, but the fundamentals of how that blockchain works and how that cryptocurrency uses that platform for transactions, exchanges, and investing in assets, that remains the same. Then problem solving, it is another method of Bitcoin mining. And then computing power, it's just because more and more competition is there, so greater it involves kind of brute force. Greater the resources a person will have, greater the power or money or the infrastructure, the computer software, the person, the stronger that software is, the greater he will be able to, the easier it will be for him to solve puzzles and earn Bitcoin. So everything comes at a cost. So this is these are how the basic Bitcoin mining, because it often comes into references time and again. So for I have just explained. If you need explanation, further explanation, you can just read on the text. Now this is this also we have discussed some aspects, but this has to be discussed in detail, Bitcoin versus the traditional currencies. So traditional currency, also referred to as fiat money or legal tender, is a government issued and regulated currency. For example, we have the Indian rupee, then or we have the US dollar, or we have the euro. So all these are backed by the government, backed by the their respective central banks, but this is not the case with cryptocurrency in general. Then we have already discussed about the tangibility. The coin, it is used for the image or graph, it does not exist if I just take a printout of that Bitcoin, or decide to take a metal copper piece and try to paste that JPG on that, and try to sell it as Bitcoin, that is not going to work. So it is an intangible or virtual asset. Then regulation, we have already discussed. It is a decentralized network, distributed network of computers. There is a huge database, and that ledger is distributed to everyone on that particular blockchain or particular platform. Then finally we have governance, and again the majority rules. It is by the people, of the people, for the people. So there is no legal backing or backing of any central bank. So this is the governance part. Then the value. Bitcoin's value is backed by the trust of its users. Although we have talked about certain factors like supply, demand, and the influence of media news also, but basically the concept, the base core concept of cryptocurrency is that the value is determined by the trust or the desirability of the users. So it is not actually vulnerable to inflation by concept, by itself. Like the normal traditional currencies are vulnerable to inflation, it should not be, it is not. But due to such complications which have arisen in the recent few years in the markets, and due to all, you can say, the wars taking place, and so all these have become cryptocurrencies also somewhere or the other, it has begun to get affected by inflation also. Then we have supply. This is capped at 21 million Bitcoin. There we have fiat currency has no supply, and we have always discuss one of the measures to increase or decrease inflation is by when RBI prints more money, or it has to curtail money. You might also have heard about the term known as helicopter money. Some governments, in order to increase demand, they print a lot of money without any hesitation, and that leads to catastrophic consequences, which has happened in countries like Zimbabwe. Then anyways, so validation of transactions. Then Bitcoin transactions are validated using blockchain without any intermediary. When we talk about traditional currencies, whenever we do any payment, there is some intermediary involved. The accounts have to be verified, the transactions have to be verified. So this is what centralization or intermediary is always there to regulate or authenticate that. But since the Bitcoins or cryptocurrencies are already associated with such a secure network, which we have discussed in the first 2-3 slides, so that kind of need is not there. Then transaction fees, because there is no intermediary involved, no we have no merchants or vendors which affiliated with the transaction processes, so there is minimal or no associated fees. So that is another inherent advantage of dealing in cryptocurrencies. Then again, transaction and time speed, lack of regulation, no intermediaries, highly secure, computer based virtual currency. So that makes its transaction time is very low, and of course inversely proportional to speed, so speed becomes very high. I have one maths concept for you. Anyway, so security, traditional currencies are less secure as it can be negatively affected by fluctuations in government policies. But as we have discussed, even now the cryptocurrencies they have also become vulnerable to the government policies, because obviously it might be the case, we'll talk about the timeline in India. So now what in the Union Budget 2022-23, the CBDC bill, the central bank digital currency, related to that, it was introduced. So it is being planned to regularize, but now also in the budget it was declared that all the assets which were sold or purchased or transacted in the virtual medium, they would attract a tax of 30%. So these are some of the regulations which might affect the sentiments and reduce or increase the investment, the amount of investment in the cryptocurrencies. So these are the main, and of course reversals. Bitcoin transactions cannot be charged back. So once you have transacted, that block has been created, that block cannot be infringed or if we cannot tangle with that block. What happens when we normally do a payment, a message, a text message or some kind of mail always comes to us that we have done this kind of transaction, or from your bank account 320 rupees or 10,000 rupees have been deducted, and if that person is not you can call 1800 and all that number. So that kind of leisure is not provided in terms of currency. Once you have let go of your asset, then it is gone. Again, if that person is interested in returning, then that is a different situation. But again, for that the ledger has to be updated. A new transaction means a new block that will be added to the ledger across all the billion plus computers.